44-ish hours, but who's counting, since you reported, Woj, that Sean Marks is working with Kevin Durant on a trade out of Brooklyn. And I can't count how many times over the course of this show we've pivoted from the Lakers to Brooklyn. Here we are again. 18 days later, Durant is still in net. Why is that, Woj?
Malika, Brooklyn simply doesn't have a deal out there that's good enough to justify trading Kevin Durant with 4 years left on his contract, really at the apex of his talent. And, they've continued to talk to teams around the league, but simply no one's meeting that threshold. And I think ultimately teams like Miami, Phoenix, who have been motivated to try to find deals for Kevin Durant, they've got to go out into the marketplace and see if they can add teams, add assets and different players potentially who might help meet that threshold with Brooklyn. Obviously, there's limitations, with Miami because of the contract Bam Adebayo has and Ben Simmons. They can't be on the same roster together. That certainly limits, the structure of a transaction. And so, listen, we still have a couple months left in the summer, in the offseason before training camp. But right now, simply, there's not a deal out there for Brooklyn. And, they do have time on their side because, Kevin Durant has those 4 full years left on his contract. It's a different circumstance than, say, San Antonio in 2018 with Kawhi Leonard when he was heading into the last year of his deal.
Right.
He had missed the previous season, and this was hanging over the organization in a different way.
So that's Kevin Durant. Let's get to Donovan Mitchell. What's the latest on Utah's all-star guard here?
Malika, Utah talked with the Knicks early last week, exchanged some ideas of what a potential Donovan Mitchell deal with New York might look like. And I think now Utah's out talking to the rest of the league, seeing what else might be available to them. I do think they'll reconnect with the Knicks at some point in this offseason. But again, Utah, a high threshold for doing a deal for Mitchell. 4 years left also on his contract. You saw what they got for Rudy Gobert. They were patient. They really weren't in a bidding situation necessarily when they got a price that ultimately felt pretty easy to do the deal on. 4 first-round picks, really a 5th pick when you counted Minnesota's 2022 first. Did the deal with the Jazz with Minnesota, and I think that's going to be the posture here again in Utah. New York doesn't want to just bid against itself, offer up more and more without a sense there's somebody else in the marketplace yet doing that. And so I do think any potential Donovan Mitchell deal is going to take some time.
Senior insider Adrian Wojnarowski, thank you so much. We will continue to check in with you. Welcome to NBA Today, and we have a fabulous panel for you today. We have Dave McMenamin joining, Kendrick Perkins, and Zach Lowe. But where we need to start is with the Lakers and Russell Westbrook, because over the weekend, Adrian Wojnarowski, our senior NBA insider, reported that Russell Westbrook has parted ways with his longtime agent. So I want to contextualize that, what it means for the Lakers, for our viewers. So bringing in Dave McMenamin now. Dave, what exactly does this mean? Why should Lakers fans see this as noteworthy?
Well, Malika, because, and I have the statement here from Thad Fouché, it's kind of a rarity in our business to see something this in-depth when a client leaves his representation, but I'll read it off this full screen here. The marketplace is telling the Lakers they must add additional value with Russell in any trade scenario. And even then, such a trade may require Russell to immediately move on from the new team via buyout. My belief is that this type of transaction only serves to diminish Russell's value and his best options to stay with the Lakers. To read between the lines here, it's clear that Thad Fouché, his longtime, now former agent, has been trying to work behind the scenes to find a deal for Russell to move to a 4th team in 4 years. It hasn't happened up to this point, and so Thad is telling Russ as his parting note that your best bet is to stay with the Lakers, and basically calling the Lakers bluff, because we've heard all the right things said by Darvin Ham thus far, telling us that Russell Westbrook will have a major role on this team. He told Mark Spears of Anscape he will still be the starter. But at the same time, while those comments have been made, Rob Pelinka has been working behind the scenes for about a month in order to try to find a trade scenario for Russ. And so what this means at the end of the day is that we'll see if Russ signs another agent that can help facilitate such a deal.
Yeah.
Someone with ties around the league and can leverage those relationships. But we're still at a stalemate.
So let's bring in the rest of our panel. Zach Lowe, hello, and Kendrick Perkins. Zach, what do you make of this breakup?
It's certainly noteworthy, although it's been in the works for, I think, a long time. Like Dave said, the implication of Thad Foucher's statement was Russ wants a trade. I don't think that's best for him. Immediately after that statement came out, some damage control was done. The LA Times reported that Russ, and others reported that Russ has never asked for a trade, never requested a trade. Then there were reports from Chris Haynes at Yahoo that Russ, AD, and LeBron got on a little bit of an old school conference call, dialed up the landlines, I guess, and had a sort of detente about we're all together, we're still together. That all seemed like damage control to me. The underlying implication was there seemed to be some tension between what Russ wanted, what Darvin Ham wants, what the Lakers want. And to me, all of that tension is still in the air. We have 2 months before camp. We'll see if Russ is on the Lakers by then.
Well, so it was really interesting, particularly what you said about that phone call that Yahoo reported, because I was at Summer League, Dave was at Summer League. We all went to Summer League and we saw Russ on the other end of the court when LeBron James was also there watching the Lakers. Perk, you played with Russ. What exactly is at stake, do you think, this upcoming season for him?
It's a lot. And I'm not talking about his past. Listen, we already know that Russell Westbrook is a future first ballot Hall of Famer. We already know that Russell Westbrook, in my eyes, is a top 25 greatest player to ever play the game of basketball. But when it comes down to this particular moment, and it comes down to Russell Westbrook coming into this particular season and looking into the future, this is a make-or-break moment for Russell Westbrook. And when I see it, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, look, Russ, this season right here is going to determine your future. And when I say the future, I mean we could really witness Russell Westbrook go from making $47 million to $48 million a year, being one of the highest paid guys in the league, to actually playing for a veteran minimum if he don't show the rest of the NBA that he's willing to sacrifice, that he's willing to put his pride aside, that he's willing to take a lesser role. If Russell Westbrook could come out and be efficient, take a lesser role, put his pride aside, then guess what? He's going to extend his future. He's going to get a bigger payday than a veteran minimum. But if not, he's treading in deep waters. And look, Russell Westbrook could possibly be out the league if he's not careful and not put his pride aside.
Dave?
And Perk, I reported this last year. A Eastern Conference executive compared Russell Westbrook to Allen Iverson to me and said that look at Iverson's path. He never really adjusted his game, changed his role, and expanded his game to work with the times. And all of a sudden, he goes from being one of the game's brightest stars, biggest names, to completely out of the league. And that is the precarious situation that Russell Westbrook finds himself in. And you mentioned, Perk, him trying to take a different role. I mentioned this on Zach's podcast yesterday, The Low Post, that I had sources telling me that the last coaching staff, led by Frank Vogel and the Lakers, they didn't believe that Russ would be able to accept that role. They thought they would lose him completely, perhaps have him be away from the team if they benched him or told him your job would be to come off the bench permanently. And so, again, that was a very measured decision by that coaching staff not to go that direction. We'll have to see now that Darvin Ham has already publicly told Mark Spears that Russell can be his starter. Can he go down that road and have Russ accept it coming off the bench?
All right, so that's Russell Westbrook. Let's flip it, reverse it, and pivot to LeBron James. The last time we saw him on the court in a Lakers uniform, it was April 1st, 38 points in a loss to the Pelicans. But this past Saturday, he was back on the court at the Drew League. It's a Pro-Am pickup league in Compton. I was there. LeBron was doing LeBron things. Dave, you were there as well. He didn't sit a minute of this game.
All 40 minutes. And listen, I was standing near the baseline around some of his Lakers teammates, and we caught each other's attention, and he made an announcement to me in the second quarter, Dave, I'm 100% healthy. And to me, that was a very clear indication of why he was there, right? He missed 7 of the last 8 games of regular season with that left ankle sprain. He missed 26 games in total last year, and it was disaster. He's looking ahead to year 20 of his NBA career, which will be in Los Angeles, and he is trying to get the momentum going in the right direction from the summer onwards, saying, I got something to prove this year.
Well, and he certainly looked healthy when he was elevating like that. The atmosphere in there, it was absolutely electric. Just a packed gym. LeBron went for 42 points, 16 rebounds, 3 assists. There wasn't exactly a ton of defense played, but that's not the point. And you said I'm healthy. He said that over and over. I was sitting near the baseline. He was looking into the crowd, looking at individual faces that he recognized. I feel great. My hamstring feels great. My body feels great. My legs feel great. I feel healthy. So, Perk, is this a big deal, a little deal, or no deal at all that LeBron is playing this weekend at the Drew League?
Oh, it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal for the game of basketball. It's a huge deal for LeBron James' health. And most importantly, it's a huge deal to show the world that LeBron James loved the game. His love for the game is undeniable when you talk about him going into year 20, the same age as me, going on 38 years of age, and he goes in the middle of July and goes and plays at an extremely high level. Like, he wasn't smiling. He had his game face on. So, one, he set the temperature and he set the tone for his team to let him know what this year is going to be about. And then it also showed his appreciation for the game. We're talking about LeBron James, who was just in a magazine. I forgot the name of it. Can't think of the name of it at the moment, of reaching $1 billion. His net worth is $1 billion. Like, when you're driving and you're playing right now, and the passion that he's playing with and going and playing in front of a crowd that some of those people would never be able to see a LeBron James up close again in their life, that just shows you the love that he have for the game of basketball.
Zach?
I think it's awesome. I think it's a great sign. If I'm the Lakers, I'm like, 40 minutes, LeBron. Let's not do that again. Let's just take it a little easier than that. Let's not turn an ankle. But Perk is right. Look, a healthy LeBron James is an MVP candidate. That was the case last year. That was the case the year before. And all these discussions about Russ and Kyrie and how the Lakers upgraded or didn't upgrade their bench, none of that matters if LeBron and Anthony Davis are not healthy and playing at their peak levels when it matters. That's the first step to the Lakers becoming a playoff team. Forget about contender status and all that. They got a bunch of steps to get between now and there. Step one is those guys got to be healthy and productive. And so this is a great sign. It's LeBron James going into year 20. Like Dave said, it's awesome. All of us want to see MVP level LeBron in Los Angeles. I feel like it's been a while since we've seen that in high-stakes games. It'd be great to see it again.
Yeah, and I said DeMar DeRozan was there. He looked pretty healthy, speaking of hammies. And for LeBron James, it was an ankle. He looked incredibly healthy as well. Gentlemen, thank you. Please do not go too far. I want to bring in our senior NBA insider.